I'm Te Ao, and the guy who opened up into the karakia, that's Te Anau. So we both represent Palmy Panthers, which is a group of Indigenous speakers, not only from Aotearoa but from the Pacific Islands, who are putting our voices out there so that everyone gets to hear the impact on tangata whenua and other Indigenous groups. And if you want, you can like us on Facebook. It's not the speed car group, it's the other one. Just the fact is that I'm from Ngāpui Nui Tunui, which is the far north, so a beautiful place up there, but I've been residing here for the last 15 to 16 years, and I'm also Samoan. And so on that kind of position, it's, we've been actively involved in addressing issues that impact on our whenua, on what we refer to as papatūnuku, and anything that impacts papatūnuku and actually stops the potential living and wellness of tangata whenua. And in this country, we have an agreement, a treaty with other partnerships, the government and other groups, called the Treaty of Waitangi, and next year we are commemorating the 175th year of the treaty. Now what that means for us is that we have had 175 years experience of the impact of a treaty that isn't entirely upheld. And so we have experience where legislations have come through and taken our ability to have input or to hold on to our whenua. They've impacted our practices so that we can keep our people well, and then they've also had an impact on us being able to have our voice. And so that is an example live and still existing in Aotearoa. Now unfortunately we all actually now join together because we all are collectively facing a potential treaty that will do worse than what, the impact of the Treaty of Waitangi for some groups, it'll be worse, and so we are all in the same boat, kind of. Okay, so all our families will be violated, all our families will not be able to have input or consult, all of our families will not be able to be protected, and so our resources in this country that are used to take care of us, to advance us, to meet our needs, will be ripped from us, given elsewhere, and so we will actually have to start paying for something that should be available for us in this country. And the unfortunate thing is, you can see through statistics that as tangata whenua, it has impacted us quite severely. The other thing is that with the treaty, there was a commitment that we would be able to participate and ensure that protection of our tonga existed, but that's not happening. And so we don't get to consult on the TPPA because it's all secret. We don't get to have input, and we don't actually get to, our tonga is in threat. So with the medicine issue, we've got a Y262 issue going through at the moment that is trying to stop global corporate companies from taking the rights of our resources in Aotearoa, determining who can actually use it and also putting a price to it. So we are losing our ability to have intellectual property rights. And so we are addressing that on a national approach, but that's another example of how this treaty that's been developed can actually continue to violate the rights of tangata whenua to determine their own pathways. The TPP is a direct opposition to what the treaty mentioned in terms of allowing tangata whenua to have some say in tino rangatiratanga. And so we oppose it. There's lots of people that oppose it. There's some political parties that oppose it as a political party and some as individuals. When I flew down here this morning, I managed to speak to Tariana Turiana, and it was quite good to hear that the Māori Party is still opposing it. However, in the same conversation, she mentioned that she didn't really know much about this treaty. And so this is what happens sometimes, is that people will speak about it in positions of power, but it's a brief conversation they've had with someone to inform them, so they don't really know the depth of impact that it has on us in terms of the community. So I'd really encourage everyone, when you go out to the mayoral elections that'll be happening, they'll be visiting and trying to promote themselves. I suggest that you go and speak to them and ask them what they know about this. I suggest that when you meet with your political parties and the local MPs that we now have, that you actually ask them what they know about it and what their position is, not just as an individual member but also as a party. I also encourage you to grab everyone else and actually figure out what action you're going to do, because it's really good to turn up today and have a conversation, but sometimes the action between events is quite slow. So if we can have smaller events between the big ones, it'll maintain the energy and momentum, and I think we'll get more awareness in the community for people who are afraid to join bigger groups. Just one other thing is that up in Ahipara, where we're from, our family up there are trying to protect our whenua and our moana, because that's what our family lives on. So economically it's not the greatest place, and so for our families up there, and I suspect it's happening, well I know it's happening all around the country, when the mining and the fracking occurs and the destruction of our land and our oceans occur, like this, right on cue, it means that our families can't feed our family, and our families don't have the resources they need to make sure that they're well, and so they are trying to action things back home, but they have a direct impact. For people who, like me, who aren't back home, having that direct impact, sometimes it's hard to actually see the relevance of having action and actually addressing this, but I would encourage us to look beyond the Manawatu and see, allow people who are experiencing it firsthand to come and have conversations with you as well. So I think that's it, because it's been a long day. The other thing is, before I go, just a reminder that we've experienced that when we get together and we speak like this, that sometimes the government oppose you having a voice, and so there is in other Indigenous groups, they have been arrested for having a gathering like this and actually speaking your mind. And so with the TPPA, this is one of the things that it will allow to happen, is that if you actually have a voice and you speak out, you can get arrested, you can be charged with an ordinary or an anti-terrorist crime. And so those are things that violate our rights to actually have a say. So I really want you to think about that as well, and not to be afraid of it, but actually individually and collectively, let's be strong and continuing to have our voice and have events like this. So kia ora.